Apathy is when the spark of life is dim. There's a lack of hope, and there's an indifference to even want to change. At its worst, there's lack of energy, just like an emotional numbness, and just no desire, just a state of complete indifference. And it's a low state in our emotional ladder, in our levels of consciousness. It's just right above shame and guilt, and then it's below grief. So be careful of believing that the state of apathy is just like a neutral ground where I'm not moving forward, but I'm also not moving backwards. The truth is, the longer we stay in apathy, in indifference and numbness, the worse our life will get. If we don't care about our body, what happens? We get overweight, we get sick, etc. If we don't care about our relationships, what happens? They disappear, they're gone, gone, done. Our relationship with God, same. We lose purpose, meaning, hope, etc. We feel isolated, completely abandoned and alone. What about business, career? Same thing. If we don't tend to these things, they disappear, they're done, they're gone. And then what we end up doing is just going through the motions of life. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to stay there. We want to move away from apathy. So in this video, we're going to talk about where apathy comes from and then how to heal in body, mind, and spirit. Let's go. We can find ourselves in the state of apathy when we have prolonged shame, guilt, or grief. And this is a time where our body and our mind decide to shut down. For self-protection, as a defense mechanism, we emotionally just shut down. And of course, trauma can play a big role in this too, where we learn to live in what's called learned helplessness, where whatever I do doesn't even matter, so why bother? Maybe we've been rejected so many times, maybe we've been disappointed so many times, and that left us to the belief of why even bother? I've repeated failure after failure after failure, and now I don't even have the motivation to try again because I know what's coming, failure. So I just emotionally shut down. So first and foremost, it's going to be important to know that this shutting down is a defense mechanism to not feel that disappointment, the rejection, the shame, the failure anymore. And there is hope and there is a way out of it. So what we're going to do now is talk about how to get free in the body. Apathy often shows up physically in our body as a slouched posture. This posture is a heavy posture where we almost don't have the energy to muster the strength in our muscles to just hold ourselves up. In doing this posture, you'll notice that there's a difficulty in breathing. So there's shallow breathing. There's a difficulty in speaking up with volume, with confidence, with energy. And really, that's what it all is. It's a lack of energy. It's emotional numbness. They call emotion energy in motion, right? And that's the key of where we're going to go into the healing journey in our body. The first thing we have to do is start moving our body. So I would suggest going to the bioenergetics free starter hub and going through the shaking and vibration portion. It's free. You just start moving the body, start shaking the body, start feeling again. There's also a lack of groundedness with somebody when they're stuck in apathy. So the grounding exercises will be great too. You want to start light. These are light exercises, nothing intense, nothing to push yourself too much. You don't want to have to go to the gym for an hour. You don't want to have to go to a run. Do something in your body to even just start moving or go out and walk on grass. What if you just do one little thing? And this goes into how to release ourselves from apathy psychologically. We have to remember that apathy is just a defense mechanism. And it's a defense mechanism against disappointment or possible failures. So starting something and just doing one little thing, something light, something little, a micro goal, will help us to reframe that, change that, as we start noticing that we do have agency to move forward. It also is going to be important to remember that if we're stuck in this why bother, nothing matters, we can change that into reframing of like, no, you know what? Small steps matter. Every little small step matters. And I don't know where you're at right now, you know? There's different levels of apathy. So if brushing your teeth is hard, then that could be a goal. Cleaning your room could be a goal. Stepping outside, walking could be a goal. You know, micro goals and just doing it and seeing what if? What if I do that? That should be the new mantra. What if? Rather than why bother? It doesn't matter. Those beliefs are going to be very helpful. What if I do it? Let me see. Let me just see. And make it small, right? We're not running for the hills. We're just small little steps. Small steps matter. And spiritually, I would just recommend having an emotional conversation with God. There's this whole section in the Bible called the Psalms, where most of them are actually lament psalms, where King David is crying out to God, where he is yelling at God. If you read it, you'll see that it says like, why have you forsaken me, God? Why have you hid your face from me? Why am I dealing with this? Crying out. I yearn for you. I need you. What the? And I would recommend having that type of prayer to let it out. God is not scared of your emotions or your feelings. So I know most people would say, don't pray. Don't pray that way. Just pray calmly with God. But no, God wants you and wants your heart and wants the reality of who you are and where you're at. So if you feel a certain way, or if you aren't feeling, start with that. God, I don't feel anything. I don't feel like I want to keep going. What's going on? And just have that conversation with God. By yourself, with God. What I would steer away from is some type of spiritual practice that kind of leads into going into a void. Some of the meditative practices go into quiet stillness, clearing your mind, and go into a void. And that's not going to help you, especially when you're in apathy, when you're stuck in apathy. Being in the void just is going to lead to more meaninglessness and purposelessness. So having an emotional component to it is going to be very important. Maybe you can read one of those lament psalms and then just sit and hold on to it. Maybe you can just vocally express yourself to God and allow yourself to go through that process. Remember, emotion is going to be very important. Energy and motion, movement, even just get on your knees and cry out. What the heck? There is power when we cry out. And again, mental reframe. What if I just take 10 minutes to cry out to God? Let me put up a timer, 10 minutes. I'm just going to cry out and let God know what I feel. And then just be quiet for 5 minutes and listen and let God speak. And I'm sure powerful things are going to happen because of that. So that's my recommendation. Real emotional connection with a personal God who actually is there. And you'll find this out. If you don't know that, and you feel abandoned or whatnot, say it. Be like, I don't even know if you're there. Go through that process of just a prayer, just a conversation, and see what happens. What if? And just to finish off, even if you feel nothing right now, just know that taking the time to watch this video was a step forward. So congratulations, one step forward. You did something. This is good. And it shows that you care. That's probably the most important part. And once we release apathy, then what we're going to do is go into grief. And in grief, then we can start the healing process there. Once we start feeling emotions, once we allow ourselves to have that vibrancy, then we can move forward into the higher levels. So let's let apathy not be the end. Let it just be a place of pause before a rebirth that is happening. So I hope that you take that next step. Whatever step you choose, make it small and just do it. And what if I can live life vibrantly again? Or if you've never felt vibrant in life, know that it is a possibility. Take one small step. I know you can. Peace.